Hello, how are you? I've got the lovely Emi Looker here on a video interview with me. Um, Emi, it's really good to have you join me. I'm trying, as you know, I'm building a community around better health and wellness through Gaia's Riches. Our product, as you know, is focused on um, a holistic oral health kit based on 100% natural oral health care,
Mhm.
and based on Ayurvedic principles, and to drive that collective conscious away from the chemical products that we so often see on our supermarket shelves, towards a more 100% natural oral health care kit. I had the pleasure of meeting you at when was it? It was about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
so we met at Jasmine Hemsley's talk on Ayurveda in the city of London.
Hmm.
I believe you said you're from Bournemouth, so you made the trek down to London,
Yeah.
and we got to meet each other and understand a bit more about our interests. We're obviously very aligned in our businesses, and I thought it would be great to have you on board and learn more about what you do. So, um, without further ado, if you could kind of explain what you do, what your focus in health and wellness is, and we'd love to hear more about this.
Great. Thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure. And it's such a great idea, you're having of like spreading the idea or this natural concept, and exactly what you said, like we have some horrible stuff on the shelves in the supermarket, so we really need to bring up the awareness about health and natural products. I think especially like the health products, they're just really complicated. So my sector is more like food wise. So I'm a nutritionist and I run cooking workshops in Bournemouth. So as you said, we have really similar concepts. I also believe like 100% natural. So everything what I use on my cooking workshops are organic, seasonal, local produce around the area. So this is like really the base of my business. That's what I really, really believe. So I think this is definitely something that we need to spread the word and talk about it to everyone. I think everyone has to know about these things. So
Can
yeah, so I started my business. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you tell us about the name of your business and then more about that?
So I started my business about 3 years ago when I came to England. So I'm originally from Brazil. So I moved to Bournemouth about 2 years ago, and a year before I came here, I started my business like slowly trying to build a concept. So my idea was to try to help and educate people about nutrition sustainability. So that was my main like true focus, was like I'm a dietitian, so I went to university to become a dietitian, and I was always really concerned about sustainability and like health, in a way that also protects the planet. So really aligned with nature. I'm a really outdoors person, so I was really, really interested in how could you um, make conscious decisions and conscious choices and also protect the environment, because there's also this conversation about being healthy, but then there's a lot of healthy products we try to to have, but then it's not local, it doesn't grow in our environment, and then this is traveling, this is going everywhere, and then it's not actually that efficient, if you think about like carbon emissions and things like that. So I was trying to combine these two things together. So that's why I called native, because I want something really raw, really local, really, human, like something we can touch. It's not something just like an idea, concept, but something could be like sustainable in all ways, sustainable for the planet and sustainable for human beings. So that's how I started. And in the beginning, my business was more into like health coaching. So I was health coaching people like one-to-one. So I used to work in a clinic before I started my business. So I was still in that structure of clinic, like one-to-one consultations, meal plans, and like all that. And this was working well while I was in Brazil. But then when I moved here, I wanted to do something a bit more interactive. So I thought the best way to to reach people's health would be through cooking. So I thought if I could help people to get more confident in the kitchen, that they could create their own medicine. They could use the ingredients to be healthy and like to create amazing dishes and to be happy with their eating and to improve their health and their well-being through cooking. So I changed slightly my business through from like consultations to workshops,
Right.
which I enjoy very much. I always loved cooking. I grew up in a family that everyone cooks, so it was always like my free time, like my fun time was in the kitchen. So it was a really, really nice change for me, a really nice, step to explore.
Excellent.
Yeah, so
I mean, that's why I struck a chord with you, actually, because you've obviously got an exciting but challenging mission ahead, because we've, as you said,
yeah,
building that, encouraging people to find more sustainable methods of nutrition. That's already happening in the world, but gaining access to, I think the difficulty here when I listen to you is gaining access to local sources or farmhouse foods. It's not so simple anymore, at least in this country.
yeah.
It's not very easy. I don't know, can you make a comparison with Brazil? I guess Brazil maybe is a lot more, the local produce was easier and
Okay.
maybe more natural. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Very different. Like we're very old-fashioned in the way we do our shopping in all aspects, from like fashion, from clothes to food. Everything is really old-fashioned. You still see like this old, all like those brands like clothes, for example, like clothes branding, and they're like family business, very small. Like you only buy that t-shirt in that place. You're not gonna find anywhere else in the world. Really unique. And the same with food. So in Brazil, we don't have this like train system. We don't have like the food doesn't travel as much as like in Europe, because we have a really good environment. So Brazil is near the equator. So in the north of the country is really warm. So like the tropical fruits and stuff like that, they grow north of the country. And then the center, the center to like the south of the country gets colder. So if you're looking for like berries and things that likes like the colder climate is in the south. So we can find pretty much everything we need in the same country. But we need to remember that Brazil is massive. So you can fit the whole of Europe inside Brazil. So there is a lot of transport around Brazil. But I think people tend to stay a lot more local. So I grew up in Rio, and the first time I tried blueberries, for example, like berries don't grow in Rio like that much because it's just too hot. So the first time I tried berries in my life, I was about like 20 years old. Like it was not something I grew up experiencing. That was something really new. And here you go to the supermarket and everything's available all year round. So in Brazil, you see in the supermarkets, like we have a lot of food markets as well in the streets. It's more common. So everyone knows their food market in their neighborhood, and everyone goes to this food market for shopping. So you only use supermarkets for like groceries, and if you miss the dates of the food market, and then there's no another way, because the freshest food are in the food markets, like weekly. Every neighborhood, they have their own day of the week, and then goes around the area like that. And like the supermarkets they're open till later in the evening as well. So if you miss the food market, you have to go there, but the quality is not the same. But it's still local, very local, like things that grow around in the season, you're going to find around that. You're not going to see things that travel like long distances and just to, make the customers happy. Like, I think,
Yeah.
I
That
see a lot here.
leads me to maybe a complex question, and I don't know if there's an answer to this, but
Yeah.
when you have your clients come to you, and you obviously, you run workshops, but with the private consulting clients, I presume you maybe manage, and you assess your candidate or client, and you probably build potentially a meal plan or a structure for them, or some sort of nutritional structure bespoke to them. right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do you then advise in your local area, or do you give tips on where they should potentially buy their food from as well, or?
Yeah, so now, nowadays I'm much more like local in my area, and I got to know my area very well. So if they need like tips and things about how to find products and what to buy and where to find, I give them like tips and ideas. If it's somewhere I don't know very well, I always go like a little research, or I teach them like the tools, how to select the best food. So if you're looking for like, you know, natural produce is natural, come from nature. Just look for something that grows in your area. Like what grows in your area. Look for the seasons. Look for go and meet your farmer. Your local farmer. Go find the farmers around your area and go and talk to them, like physically. We don't do this anymore. But like if you really care about your food, you need to know where it's growing and like the methods they're using and things like that. So it's an effort. If you really want to step into healthy eating and healthy living, you need to consider all these things. So I have changed like my shopping completely, like the things I do in the way I do. So I encourage people to do the same, so just to explore the areas and get to know their farmers. But yeah, so each area is like really individual, and like I just encourage people to explore and to learn. If they have to buy like a produce, like groceries, I teach them how to read the labels. It's like, it sounds something really simple, but like most people don't know, like how when you read like a label, what does it mean and like what is in there, and then you see like the list of ingredients, like 1,000 ingredients. There's something wrong, guys. Come on, it can be natural. If there's like 100 ingredients in one tiny product, how can that be natural? It's not natural.
That's really, I think that's really
yeah.
essential. People need to be learning that in schools these days. I really believe that. I don't know if there's an initiative already to do that, but I really believe in that, because we've lost touch with our nature in some ways, at least with the food that we eat. I'm also a little bit of a culprit with that, at least last few years before I had a bit of an awakening. Is just because you live in a busy city such as London, and you end up going to the if you're really rushed, or I've just finished a client meeting, or if I've had dinner outside, I don't really think about it. If I need to rush and quickly make a meal, I'll go to a local express store, and I'll pick up something which won't naturally be ideal, but I'm a culprit for it as well. And you can, I've been, I like to go pick my own fruits and stuff from a local sort of farmers market. They have them sometimes in the boroughs in London, but it's rare and far apart, and it's not that, I don't find it as accessible as picking something that's processed on the shelf, which in a city built on consumerism and convenience, ultimately that's what's in front of your face, and that's what's a little bit worrying.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I think influenced the lifestyle in this country. What I notice is you guys work too much, like too many hours. Like it's just work all day. You don't even have time to think about your choices. You get to such a level of stress and pressure and work that in like food and like your self-care is second, third, fourth place. First one is your job. You need to make money, you need to make a living, and then like people are just focused on that, and then think about what they put in their bodies, the products they're using to wash themselves, or your fun times is like below. It's just not important. So that's the thing. You need time even to research. Where's my food market? Where's my local food market? You need to research. You need time to do that. So I think there's a lot of time management as well, and priorities. What's important. So myself and my husband, we took like a month researching all the food, like the food we already buy, and how could we improve, and where could you find it, and how could you make it possible. Because one thing there's a lot of food markets that I like, and it's really nice, but it's not accessible for me. It's too far. They don't deliver. I can't drive there. It's just there's no way this is accessible and sustainable for me. So I had to look for all my options and like all what's available to make my decisions, you know. So it takes time, and we don't have time. That's the reality. But that was something like I did once. I took 4 weeks maybe, but it lasts 2 years. I don't need to make the decisions again, you know. So it's priorities. I think it's all about priorities. We really need to believe. It's not just about, this is cool, this is trendy, this is nice, you know, I really want to do that, I want to be happy. But is it your priority? Like, is that what you really want it? If you really want it, you can do it. So I think
agree.
that's,
Yeah, yeah. I
that's
think
what
there's a famous quote which says, again, I can't remember who it who it's from, but it's a value has a value only if it's valued. So it's that
yeah,
principle about
completely. Yeah,
it's that principle
yeah,
about, you know, what do you value. And I think
yeah.
you're right that there's, you know, you come from Brazil, I grew up in Kenya. There's some similarities there in the way people
Mm-hmm.
value their life, which I think the West should learn from a lot.
Yeah.
There's a balance to be struck between East and West, or some of the country, you know, some of the you know the warmer climates, or countries that have natural foods, and there's a bit more of an emphasis on quality of life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be some balance struck between the two, because we seem to be on one side of the spectrum here as a whole, and the other side of the spectrum there, and that would be the ideal, really. But
Yeah.
one other thing, thanks for sharing your thoughts. I mean, you know, we won't go into too much depth on this. I wanted to just
Yeah,
put
can I
it.
just say one thing when you said that? One step, like one thing that it comes to my mind every time I think about priorities and things about this country is lunchtime. Lunchtime in England is like a sandwich in front of the computer, or you people walking and eating, or driving and eating. Like there's no break, you know. There's no like sitting down meal. In Brazil, could be chaos, you know, everything happening, but people take an hour for lunch, no matter what. If you're working on a Sunday, if you're working on a holiday, it doesn't matter. Our lunch is sacred.
But
There's no discussion.
that's
There's
brilliant,
no
because
discussion, you
yeah,
know. Yeah.
and I'm guilty for that as well. That's brilliant, because
Yeah.
you're what you're saying is that it ties into what you're saying before. It's self-love. It's putting yourself first. You knowing that your mind needs a rest, your body needs a rest, and the fact of just simply sitting down and valuing the food you've got in front of you, and
Mm-hmm.
experiencing that in the moment,
Yeah.
rather than multitasking while you're eating and not really valuing your body's need for digesting it properly as well. And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you've won me over there, 100%.
Yeah, it's so clear for me. It's in front of my face. You know, this is something, if I need to point one thing, like what I observe people in this country doing is don't value lunchtime. Because if you don't value lunchtime, you don't value cooking. Because why are you going to cook if you're going to eat a sandwich in front of the computer? And then when you come home for dinner, it's too late. And then you don't want to cook again. So you need to prioritize yourself, to put yourself first, and to think about, I'm going to research for the best food I can get, and I'm going to cook. I'm going to make something out of this. Because one thing is like finding the best food. The other thing is finding the best time to cook the best food, you know. So it's,
Yeah,
yeah, priorities,
and
you
that
know, and
kind of
it's,
ties down
yeah.
slightly into some of what was discussed the evening we met. And you know, you're researching very much into Ayurveda. I come from an Eastern background. I'm aware of Ayurveda. I've built a product kit based on Ayurvedic principles, but it's still an education for me. I'm kind of reconnecting back to my roots, some
Mm-hmm.
would say. But I wanted to ask you, really. So you know, one thing that was mentioned on that evening was that based on our body types as well, according to Ayurveda, there are specific times that you should put certain foods in your body, and vice versa. Certain timings are very important. Equally, there are, you know, even simply drinking water, the temperature of the water, you know, in winter times, we shouldn't be having very cold water either, putting into our bodies. You know, you should
Mm-hmm.
move towards more lukewarm temperature to appeal to our body type, you know, during that
Yeah.
climate. So
Mm-hmm.
so there's an education part there, but we're moving into a little bit more now Ayurveda, and I wanted to ask you how you found out about Ayurveda, and secondly, if you can develop on that question, how you integrate Ayurveda into your native nutrition business today?
Okay, so my whole thing with nutrition is started with a personal problem. So I had a lot of issues with like eating disorders when I was really young. I was dieting when I was about 10 years old. I was so concerned about my body image, about society, what people think about me, and things like that. So I started dieting when I was a child. Everyone was playing and like doing fun stuff. I was worried about my body, which is ridiculous. Nowadays I see like that, but like at that time I thought, no, I have to do that. And I was never overweight. That's the other interesting thing. I was over concerned about myself, and there was no problem there, but in my mind there was a massive issue, and had to be fixed. So since I was really young, I was 10 years old, I started researching about nutrition. How can I lose weight fast? How can I do this? How can I be fit and healthy? But like healthy, not in a way like feeling healthy, like looking fit, So for me, being healthy was like, yeah, I don't care. Like salads, okay, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to eat it. But not because I was looking to be super healthy, just because I want to look good. That was it. It was all about like having the perfect body. So that was what I was
10 years
after.
old is really young to be doing that. Yeah.
So young, but like I had like a lot of influences in my family. Like people comment things like, I'm from a country that our body shape is a lot more curvy. Like most people are curvier than other people. So, and we have like different bodies. So you grow up into a family and then you tend to have like similar DNAs if you want it or not, So you grow up in a family, when you have like a curvy mom, you're going to be curvy. There's no other way you're going to be a model, skinny and tall. That's not going to happen, But when you're 10 years old, you don't think about that. You think, well, I want to achieve this body shape and I'm going to do whatever it takes, So that's the other thing as well. The information is messed up because I was reading like teens magazines at that time, and they're teaching me, eat this type of food and you're going to be slim and being really skinny like a model, So there was a lot of really misconceptions and bad informations, and I had that available. Nowadays kids have YouTube and stuff like that. I had magazines, so that was what I had, and that was enough for me just to turn into an issue. So it was a body image disorder, like eating disorder. So I was fasting for long times. I wasn't eating very well, or I was overeating. So I was like doing all these things. So from very young age, I was dieting. So that was really bad. So what happened to me was that I had so many problems with that my whole life, and I've never reached the body shape I wanted because not natural for me. It was and never will be. That I thought, well, the only way to fix my problem is I'm going to be a dietitian, and then I'm going to learn everything about nutrition. I'm going to be an expert, and I'm going to fix my problem, So I was thinking about myself, really. And I thought, well, if I can help myself, I can help others. So that's going to be like a mutual beneficial thing. So that was my goal. I went to uni, and then at the same time, I started doing yoga. There's a lot of pressure in uni. Like when you in Brazil, you need to do a really difficult exam to enter uni. And then I had to like calm my mind, be focused, and then I started doing a lot of yoga. So everything happened at the same time. So with yoga came Ayurveda, and by the time I was vegetarian, so a lot of things like came together. But my first experience with Ayurveda was really confusing. I couldn't really get into it. It was like too many different names and different spices I didn't have available in Brazil. Like ghee, like what's that? Never heard about that. It wasn't familiar, So I found it really difficult, like to try to incorporate the recipes because like the name of the spices I couldn't find anywhere. In Brazil, it's not like in London, like in England, that you go to an Indian shop and you buy your stuff. In Brazil, we don't have like an Indian shop. We don't have like these like things, like very multicultural. We have our stuff, The country is big enough, we don't really incorporate, like, unless you go like to Chinatown, like something like that, like really exotic, that's how we see things, it's still back in the day, so it's our things. So you don't find, for example, curry powder. You don't find that. Still nowadays, you don't find like curry powder in the supermarket, like things like that. nowadays, like people are getting a little bit more concerned, and then you find like turmeric roots or like ginger roots and things like that. This is slowly being incorporated because the market is asking for that, as well as the berries, like as well as the, I don't know, maca powder, like, you know, super healthy shops. They have like these things, but like back like 15 years ago, we didn't have any of that. Like really old fashioned, you know, way. Very local, as I said, everything is like very local, very traditional. So I'm going to, yeah, being a vegetarian, doing yoga, and like, of course, Ayurveda came, and then it wasn't very clear, couldn't really understand, and like, I let that pass, you know. I like, oh, okay, that's just really cool, but it's not for me. It's too difficult. I don't want to go too deep into it because it's too difficult. So 10 years later, after going through like 1,000 million diets, so then I tried everything. I was a vegetarian for like 10 years, and I was like vegan vegetarian for like 5 years. And then I wasn't losing any weight. And then I tried like low carb, ketogenic, everything you can think. And then I was incorporating meat again in my diet, trying to lose weight. Not that I wanted to eat meat, but that was the only way. Well, I eat it, you know. So all these conflicts, you know, always trying to reach the perfect body shape. And then I realized that I was just wasn't myself, wasn't aligned to what I believe. So just like, I'm not going to do something that extreme that's making me feel sick. Maybe I'm losing weight, maybe I'm the body shape I wanted to be, but I'm not happy. That's not what I want. So I was trying to find something that was a balance. So after some years with my experience, so I graduated in 2011. And then after like having, you know, my dietitian degree and being a bit more experienced, like with the, you know, work life, even like experiencing diets myself, I thought I came across with Ayurveda again, but there was another level of my life. I had been through lots of diets that didn't work for me, and I was happy being a vegetarian, but I was putting weight on. So, and then Ayurveda came again. I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for this now, because I can incorporate my modern nutrition to these concepts, you know, because there's a lot of things here that make sense. So when Ayurveda came again for the second time, I was ready to listen and I was ready to understand. So nowadays, what I do, I really mix like my modern nutrition, you know, concepts and ideas with the ancient Ayurveda into my cooking. So as I always struggle with weight loss is my focus. So when you do the workshops, you usually focus on weight loss. And like, if you think about the doshas and Ayurveda, I'm a kapha type, you know, that person that would do everything and never lose weight. But you can also find a really good balance, like your health balance, and maintain health, you know. So that was the things I found into Ayurveda, and that's the things I bring into my cooking, is like, how do you specifically, like, I think our society, and especially the UK, has a massive kapha imbalance in general. You know, you see like lots of people overweight, people struggle, people are like really slow, or like they're just sluggish, like all these issues. So I thought if I bring that into the cooking, it will benefit lots of people. And that's the thing I struggled anyway. So that's how I have been mixing things, which has been really interesting. And yeah, it's been like a journey of rediscovering all this modern nutrition, incorporating some modern foods that wasn't available in India 5,000 years ago into these Ayurveda concepts. So for example, I would use quinoa instead of lots of rice, you know, or use like coconut oil or things that wasn't that, you know, used back then. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Interesting. So some of these workshops, you're kind of giving us a brief understanding as to the Ayurvedic influence into cooking as well, then, right? Into your cooking, as well, and how people, at least in the UK, can apply these principles to their everyday recipes and everyday food as well, right? Out of curiosity, when is just for the public, whoever does watch this video, when is your next workshop?
So we're organizing something for the end of this month. So at the moment, we're doing like retreats. So we get like all the professionals, and we go some parts of Dorset where we are now. So there's something we're organizing for the Purbacks, is in that area around here in Dorset. So there isn't an established date yet, probably in the end of this month in November. We're doing some more in January as well. So at the moment, things are really like established into those retreats, but I have plans to make my workshops available online. So have like a platform with like classes, like lessons, and anyone from anywhere around the country can join. So this is a plan for the near future. Yeah, for now it's like more local around here.
Yeah. Okay. And okay, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. I have. What would you say is a sort of native, natural sort of? Let's put it this way: a native, natural sort of recipe or really simple food that I can incorporate into my busy schedule in the winter. I have trouble. I belong in the sun, so I've always grown up in the sun. I love the sun. My energy levels are ridiculous in the sun, and in the winter, you know, my circulation could improve. You know, I tend to be the opposite in the winter. What would you say is, if you could advise me on one specific simple food that I can incorporate into my everyday sort of?
Yeah, I think one of the first things I start to incorporate in my diet that I think can benefit anyone is tea, like ginger tea, like lemon ginger tea, or like something that would make you feel warm and is easy, you know. So you see like lemon ginger tea bags. So you don't need tea bag for that. You can just slice fresh ginger. So that's when I call native. That's what I mean. Some like the root, the thing that comes from nature. So when I say native, it's something as raw as possible. So of course, like a tea bag will make things easier. If you're traveling or doing something, it's handy. Why not? Not problem. But if you're at home, you know, you boil the water, you slice the ginger, you cut a slice of lemon, and that's it. That's lemon ginger tea, and that's gonna make you warm and feel good about yourself. So the way I bring my cooking is like really simple, basic ingredients. And like I think with the Ayurveda now, I'm incorporating a lot more spices than I used to, and that's you know, so interesting, because you see like so many spices that relate to our digestion and how can you improve digestion, and then you digest your food better, you lose excess weight, and you have more energy, and like everything benefits. You know, you have like your brain have more clarity, so everything works better in your life, and then I think it makes you happier as well. You know, eating well and feeling well by yourself makes you feel good in general.
Yeah, I agree.
So and that's what I recommend to you.
And that's thanks for that. That's Ayurveda in essence. Really, it's a holistic system of well-being. Really, so whatever you put into your body will reflect out. You know, with your energy system, you know, it potentially has the power to align your chakra system internally. It has the you know, it has the ability to improve your skin, everything really. And then, you know, it's the concept of being aware and more conscious of the products you're using, which is then leads towards more of what I do with Gaia's Riches, with the oral health kit. On that, actually, I wanted to revisit something we discussed at the event, and we obviously connected quite quickly. And you met, you know, I was telling you about the products, and what took me by surprise was you said, so yeah, I grew up in Brazil, and you know what, you said some of your ancestors didn't really have access to more of the modern methods of teeth cleaning and oral health care, but they have fantastic teeth, and they were all using natural products, or, you know, whole food derived products. So can you just share a little bit more about what you were discussing then? Because it was the synchronicity was phenomenal, you know, and that just blew my mind, and it made me, you know, it made me realize the value of what I'm bringing as well. So it was really,
Yeah.
a
And I
fun.
like the way you like watching people smile. I say, oh, good smile, good smile. Like you just like your eyes are just like into
I don't know
mouth.
if it's a
Yeah.
blessing or curse anymore now.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I look at now, and I'm so heavily involved in this. And the first thing I look
Yeah.
at someone is their smile. So
Yeah, amazing. You know, I love this topic, and I'm so proud of my history. You know, like I came from really really poor family. Like my family, my grandparents, they're like farmers, and they lived off the land. They had no access to any modern life, and only years later when my parents got married, and then they moved to Rio, and then they had a more like modern life in Rio. But back in Minas, it's another state in the middle of Brazil. My grandparents had a really, really simple life, and that's where I spent most of my childhood. Every summer holiday or anything, my mom would always tell me that. So I spent a lot of time with my nan, and she taught me the most important values in my life. And only nowadays I recognize that, because I went to uni to learn nutrition, to be a dietitian and all that, and everything is coming back to everything what my nan taught me when I was a child. So every time I need to relate something like to my cooking, to my diet, my nan comes in my mind, because she used to, like, I would be with her cooking in the kitchen. She's like, oh, run outside and get some salad for us, and then I'll go and get tomatoes and lettuce from the garden, from everything. Like, she always grew her own food. My nan would make her own butter. The milk would come in a Coca-Cola bottle, because that was the only bottle she had, but it was like straight from the cow into the Coca-Cola bottle into the freezer, and that was there forever, so very rustic. So like my nan, she would even like make her coffee and go underneath the cow and just like straight from the cow milk.
okay,
No,
wow,
no oily, no nothing. Yeah, never had any.
very native coffee there.
Yeah. Too native, I'd say, a bit too native. Yeah, so many things. My nan made her own cheese, and like all her food is just everything like really homemade. So back in the days when things were really, really difficult, and she only had the land to support herself, there was no supermarket, and there's no industrialized product or anything. And she used to make fun of us. Like, I have my brothers and sisters, and she was like, oh, go and clean your teeth, you lucky, because you got all this fresh smelly stuff nowadays. You can, it's easy for you. Why are you not cleaning your teeth like properly, kids? Like, just like postponing, oh, later, I'll go later in a minute. And then my nan was like, in my days we didn't have any toothpaste. So okay, how used to do that? And she was like, I used to use charcoal. I was like, what? It's black. How do you clean your teeth? It's dark and horrible. That doesn't work. She's like, yeah, it worked. So my nan, she's 85, and she still have most of her teeth. Not all of it, but like most of it. And very good, strong, healthy teeth. And I think she doesn't have all of it because of the modernized world that go into that, because then she start using like normal toothpaste and stuff like that. But she didn't have a toothbrush. She would clean her teeth with her finger and charcoal.
Fantastic.
That was it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I heard some people use turmeric, but like back then into my nan's area, turmeric wasn't something available, wasn't something native from the area.
Right.
So I never heard about turmeric until we came to England. So the only thing available back there, as far as I know, was charcoal. And that was the way she cleaned her teeth for like 30 years of her life. That's how my mom started cleaning her teeth when she was very young, up to like 15. My mom has perfect teeth,
well,
nowadays.
That's observation. That's observational proof and some form of empirical proof. There's limited evidential. I mean, I'm promoting a natural activated charcoal powder, as you know, in part of my holistic kit. It's absorptive and adsorptive. There is there are multiple benefits to it, and there are multiple uses outside of oral healthcare as well. But there isn't evidential, from a dental perspective, there isn't evidential research that has taken place for numerous reasons, obviously, which I won't go into. and there's obviously an agenda within the industry as well. But this is, it's coming back to that, that centuries and centuries of people had been using certain products in the past, and they were almost a little bit more aware of how nature could support them and help them. And that seems to be something that we've forgotten, and what we're ultimately, the likes of you and me, kind of trying to drive again. But that's why I'm really happy that we connected, and I'm glad to be able to share this as well, this interview as well with you. Thank you for your time, Emi.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you very much. I think, yeah, it's very, very important. I think, basically what the message we're trying to pass is just like bring things back to nature, back to basics, and that's how we find the answers. So we see how many problems now, and like how our habits affect the environment, and affect our bodies, and so many other things. So I think that's the main message, and I'm happy to connect with you and help you spread that. And I think that is very beneficial for all of us. Thank you.
And vice versa. And I'll share a few more details when I do post this on our Guys Rich's blog, and our YouTube channel, about how to find native nutrition. And if anyone wants to hear more about the workshops that you run, they can feel free to contact you. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that.
All right, well, take care, and we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.